Hello gamers, it's Gold Demon back with another Star Wars video, and chat hates me for wanting to do the more interesting stuff, and so I'm gonna do this video, okay? Uh, yeah, as per what the title is gonna say, I don't think Castorice is worth it. Parentheses for me, right? Right, I know chat's gonna, most likely disagree, for X reasons. I don't care. She's mid as fuck. So I'm just gonna go over the reasons why I don't think she's worth it. This is gonna be a re-recording of my previous version because I went on too long about a specific topic that I think will be better for a separate video. But yeah, to start, the reason why I don't think she's worth it, again, at least for me, is I'm not a fan of the character design. That's really about it. Haven't been a big fan of her in the story. Now, obviously, this is her patch, and so they're gonna build upon that. But for me, it's like whatever, and I'm just not a fan of the character design. I don't think it's that interesting or really cool or anything. We've obviously all seen the animations. I think they're decent, but I'll be honest, they're not in my top 5. I know that sounds like heresy to some of you, but it's the truth. They're not even in my top 5. And I'm saying this as a person who is a fan of dragons. I literally have like a book in the other room of like a bunch of mythical creatures and stuff. I've been looking at this stuff since I was a kid. I'm a big fan of, that kind of stuff, but it doesn't hit the mark for me. That's really about it. Just not a fan of the character design. She has some of the best animations in the game. I'm not going to deny that. It is a fact. She does have some of the best animations in the game. But like for me personally, it's not in my top 5. Just that's really it. And then the next point that I have here, right, is going to be related to her kit, right? You could see this in a variety of showcases, like Mr. Pokey, Gwolba certified Gotcha Smack quit over Castorice. That's a different topic. And by the way, I haven't watched the other videos over this. Okay, so my opinion is not sullied by what they said. Mr. Pokey's was like an hour 30 minutes long. I didn't have time for that. All right. So I don't know anything what they said. This is just my account for this, right? But yeah, as for her actual kit, you guys can see it, and you will see it when more people get access to her, how she's going to perform, right? And how she's compared to other characters. And personally, from what I've seen, I don't think she is that worth it from like a long-term player. Now, of course, if you're a fan of the character, you should always, do what you want. It doesn't really matter, right? Just have fun with the game. But again, me personally, and this was the point that I spent way too long on, is that I don't think it's something that's a worthwhile investment. That I personally would recommend for people, right? I'm not necessarily recommending to go for Castorice. That's not saying she's bad. She's going to be really strong. Like, obviously, she's going to have a very free-to-play accessible team, and she's going to put out work, right? But she does have certain limitations, like having to run a healer, who, granted, the best healer for her is, like, free, and he's also on the banner, so, like, it's not really a big deal, but, like, you got to understand these characters' limitations and their actual abilities and their actual performance, and this is one of the points that I did bring up in the previous recording, is that we need to stop with like the power creep, fear mongering, and like misinformation, and build a better understanding of the game as like a community as a whole. Because a lot of people have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, just plain and simple. You really shouldn't be caught up in like the power creep, fear mongering, because there's people with like let's say Akron, for example, like a lot of people saying mid Quran, right? But like she's still clearing in like 2-3 cycles, like these new stages if you've got her invested, right? Which is like matching these other new characters. And like, sure, you could say Agli is better, but like you still have to have her set up with having like Sunday with his light cone and like her light cone to like get pretty much similar performance between the two of them. And so it's like, you just got to understand like what you're spinning your pulls on and like what you're investing into, and like better understand the game so that you can make a better decision like what you're doing with all of your resources, right? And that's sort of like a later point, but just from my perspective, I feel like that there's better characters like Herta and arguably Maide than Castorice specifically that I think are more worthwhile for a person's account than Castorice. And again, not saying she's bad. She's a good character, and she's going to do a lot of damage and be potent for a lot of players. It's just that me personally, from my perspective of a person who talks about and like pays attention to the meta, I don't think she's like that worthwhile in my opinion, right? And that's again like what the whole like other points. I just think there's better characters. Primarily, I would say Herta. I would say Herta right now is like the best DPS in the game, and it's like it's closer than it was when Acheron came out, because Acheron came out and she was just kind of better than everything else because of, if we're being real, how bad the rest of them were. But yeah, 2.0 had a pretty big spike in power creep, as to where 3.0, I don't think it's as big, because like Acheron is still very competitive, and so is Fei Xiao. So as long as you've got their setups right, and this kind of goes for every character, but I don't. It's like if you ask me, based on performance, legitimately, I think Anoxa is more worthwhile for people than Castorice, because he's gonna be able to run as a solo carry, right? And while he's not the best solo carry, he can function as one pretty well, and he also works for Herta, who is the best DPS in the game. And so the fact that he can fulfill like 2 separate teams, I think is going to be really good for a lot of people, and it's going to be good for type coverage, because of course you can be with Herta, boost her in whatever setup she wants to do, or you can split him off for whatever win side and have him do it solo, right? And so you've got a lot of good options there. It'll be good in a variety of modes because of the good toughness damage he does, and other setups and stuff. So like legitimately from like my perspective, meta wise, I think he is more worthwhile than Castorice. But of course you can agree to disagree. You may think Castorice is better because of the dragon and how it does a shit ton of damage for like AoE and stuff like that. Like sure, totally. But again, just like from somebody who spends time doing like spreadsheets and stuff just to figure stuff out, like big nerdage, in my opinion, I don't see Castorice as valuable. And there's also a the point after this that is gonna muddy the waters a little bit, is that for stuff we don't have information on, is like the future buffs and collab characters, right? This could change so many things about Star Rail, and more specifically the buffs, because if they buff, let's say Zila, where it's like, well, how does Zila compare as a quantum DPS to Castorice, right? Or how does this collab character compare to the rest of the DPS? It's like, there's so many things that this could bring that it's honestly hard to say. I don't remember exactly what I said last time about it, but the main thing is that we don't know the fate of these characters, pun not intended, but we don't know what these characters are going to look like in the future. And so if you do want to consider that something instead of like right now the performance, because like right now, again, I don't think your Castorice's performance is like drastically better than some of these other top tiers. And then like, how is that going to age going forward? How's it going to look next to the buffs? How are the fate characters going to look next to the rest of the cast, right? Like, are they going to be introducing power creep? They're going to be in like 2 updates, right? So how is like we also don't know if those characters are going to like come back or anything, and so there's a bunch of unknowns that's like we can't really make judgment on, because of course we don't know what it is. You can only really say anything about the current information, and right now I think there's like better things, like better characters and investments for your actual accounts than Castorice specifically, right? Of course, there's going to be bias introduced from having shill buffs. The MOC right now, as I'm sure you're aware, or what it's going to be, are just buffs to shill summons, and specifically Castorice, and it's got a bunch of HP buffs to shill Maide, so Maide performs better. And of course, the second half is imaginary right now, and the first half is, quantum weakness. And so there's a lot of buffs that these modes do to push you for the new characters. You got to be careful about that. The Hoyoverse really wants you to pull these characters, and so of course they're shilling them with the game modes. It's really that simple. Also, this whole analysis of the game state was, again, kind of entwined in this long list here of like, oh, which characters should you summon for? And this is what I've been looking at, by the way. But again, the short version of it is that most of these characters are like very easy skips, and then there's like key pickups, like I would say like Robin Sunday, and then like arguably Jiao Cho, and like like Aventurine, like and a few other characters, right? There's like key pickups that are really strong, that are going to really help your account overall for team variety. Oh, and Trivia. Let's not forget Trivia. Trivia's like crazy. And so it's just like primarily from a meta perspective, it's like you're going to want to pull like one of these 3.0 DPS, like again, like Aglia, Herta, and like you're going to bit like Sunday and like Robin, right? And so you now have like options for both those characters and future other teams, right? And so and like there is a lot of overlap with Castorice in terms of like Tribune stuff, which is going to be pretty easy or decent for people to like pull for. But I do think it's just worth noting that specifically that like you need to be aware of like the game state and like how everything actually functions. Because like I said, people need to understand the game better so that they stop getting sort of caught up at like the power creep fear mongering. And again, none of this is me saying that power creep isn't a thing, like it's not real. Like it's real. It's real. It exists. I'm just saying it's like it's not as bad as people feel, and that was actually one of the quotes that I had previously pulled up in the other recordings, that a lot of people feel Power Creep is like unplayable, which it's not. It's very doable as a free to play. Like I've been able to keep up even with an MOC where I have nothing for this MOC. I was able to do it by just pulling some random stuff together. You just again got to understand the game better, and yeah, power creep does exist, but it's like as long as you know what you're doing, you can basically beat the content, right? And so just be aware of how things actually function. And as what I always do, I'm going to promote better understanding of the game, how things actually function. Again, that's why I do this stuff on stream, and the chat just yells at me for being boring, right? Or they'll just spam Castorice better or something like that. But again, I do just think it's worth actually trying to understand the game instead of just whining about power creep all day, right? Global passive. I'll keep this one short. It just shouldn't be in the game. That's it. I would have liked to see them add it for free for everybody. You just beat the story and everybody gets it, and also it be toggleable. The fact that it's not toggleable pisses me the fuck off, and I don't know why Hoyo doesn't let us turn off stuff like dupes. I want to turn off dupes. I want to test stuff. Yet, they don't let us do this. In fact, basically no gacha games let us do this, and it pisses me off. But yeah, I just don't think the global passive should be in there. I know a lot of people are like not wanting to pull this, or like not wanting to support this specifically, right? And that's totally them. I know Gacha Smack like completely excommunicated Hoyo because of the global buffs. And this one I'm gonna have to actually pull the quote up for this. So give me 1 second to like find the quotes. I'm gonna pause the recording. Yeah, I'm quoting myself from a Discord conversation, but so what I was responding to somebody about the like global passive thing is that there's like in quote, there are multiple reasons for it, but the main one from my perspective is the precedent that it sets. The fact that the global passive exists means you are effectively directly paying for an account buff that others cannot get. While it is a gacha game, this effectively could potentially introduce power creep further than is previously felt by what seems to be a majority of the player base. Instead of a revive, it could be an attack boost. For example, if you pull Saber or a collab unit, and your account gets +1 to all talent levels, a character's fate that we don't know, as Hoyo hasn't done collabs in years, nor do we have any official info on it. This is not, it's not that it is a revive. That doesn't really do anything. Again, the revive is like terrible. It keeps you at like 1 HP. It's not good. It's what it potentially could mean for the future of the game, right? And yeah, that's basically it. Like it's what global passives mean as a whole instead of like for her. Now, I do think it's very possible that Hoyoverse is going to do it only for Castorice. I think that's very possible, but it's really hard to say. I just think that, well, I know that multiple people have already quit, specifically Star Rail, over this, and I know multiple people, I've seen multiple people like quit all of Hoyo over this stuff, which, again, to each their own. I think that's fair. If you want to protest this, totally, go for it, right? But I'll just sit here and complain about the global passive existing, right? Hopefully it's only for her, but I do think they should have been clear about this, to be fair. Them not being clear about it is not very epic. But yeah, not everybody can be Zenless, right? And yeah, some of the reasons that like people are upset, by the way, to like further enhance this point, is that like a short list that I put for like people that are upset at the game and why this was like the nail in the coffin for them, right? Is like the long and wordy story, the overall game state in terms of like balancing. Again, they feel power creep is very like bad. The amount of pools, the pace for units coming out, because again, people are. I'm dead serious. Like Mr. Poke 100% right on with his tweet saying that you're just stupid and greedy. It's 100% true. People just don't want to accept the reality. But you know, there's not enough pools to pull like everything, and people need to like accept that and actually plan stuff around that. But yeah, again, the pools for the pace of units, people just don't like, which can be perceived differently. By the way, let me make that clear. Obviously, lackluster events. So like the Pokemon event that was last update, people don't like that, stuff like that. And of course, the lack of character stories, because they haven't done one since like 2.1. So yeah, there's a bunch of reasons why people aren't super happy like going into this update, and then it's like the global passive is just like, yep, nope, fuck hell yeah, right? And then like unrelated to that, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how everybody else feels, but at least my chat or me, that this has been like the most unhype going into like a patch in like a long time. But more specifically, like since the last Annie, like this feels not as, hey, what's up, Ghost? This feels not as hype as going into last Annie. Now I don't know if chat's changed their opinion yet, but last time I had asked this question, everybody was saying, yeah, it's not as hype as it was going into last Annie, right? And so pretty much everything was pointing down, like down arrows in the game instead of pointing up, right? So yeah, that's like that's the end of that conversation I had like on Discord. And so yeah, again, like I don't want to spend too long on global passive, but that's kind of what it is there. Yeah, you have limited pools. I kind of already, talked about this earlier, but you got to play in your pools. You're not gonna have enough pools for everything if you are free to play. That's just the truth. So yeah, stop building pity. Building pity is a lie, bro. Like, don't pull on the banner if you don't want the 5-star. Like, it's silly. And yeah, that's really about it. I think I said enough about that one. Same thing with this. It's like, I personally won't necessarily recommend people pulling for Castorice. I'll say it again. I unironically think like Anaxa or like other characters are more worthwhile. But obviously people might not want to hear that. But I'm talking about this from like a meta perspective, and primarily from saving your pools, right? That's like the main thing. I always say like save your pools, right? And like whatnot. And there's other parts of that. Maybe I could bring that up, but yeah. And then for the last one, this last one. In case you were mad at the start of the video, I'll tell you this right now. This is a joke. This is a joke, by the way, in case it like wasn't obvious. Everybody in my chat knows this. I say this all the time. So it's fuck dot, fuck break, fuck summons. Because one, dot just sucks, period. Kafka hasn't got buffed yet, and I'm still gonna hate on dot because it's not good for a turn-based game, flat out. Break. It's just because. I've pulled no breakiness besides Fugue. I only got Fugue because I'm a Ting Yun fan, and so no break in my account, and then no summons. I'm not pulling any of the summon characters, so fuck summons, right? And I will be pulling probably Sairi, right? Who's probably gonna be a summon character, but like it's just a bit like just saying like fuck all them. So this one you don't have to take seriously, all right? I just think it's funny to like have the list of like things we hate or things that are bad in Star Rail, right? Where it's like fuck dot, fuck break, fuck summons, and then we can add like follow up as well. Since I didn't pull Fei Xiao, if you really want to, it's like just keep adding to the list of like everything is bad. But yeah, I just think that one's funny. So yeah, I don't know what chat's thoughts are on any of this. You guys are free to comment. You're pretty silent throughout all of that, right? But yeah, I am curious what everybody's thoughts are on this overall, as for like Castorice, the game, so on and so on. By the way, the game's up now. I'm recording this like as the game goes live. But yeah, maybe this gave you some reasons to think about before pulling the character and whatnot. I don't know. I just thought I'd give my 2 cents of like, I can't really say like this character's like, oh, insane must pull sort of thing, right? And that I personally won't be pulling for her because genuinely I just like don't like the character, right? That's kind of about it, right? I got a whole bunch of other reasons to yap about, but I just I'm looking for other characters, right? But the only Forest character I care about is Cypher. Besides Elysia, right? It's Cypher, Elysia, and that's like really about it, right? Is there anything I missed or like left out, chat? I don't think so. I think this is a more like concise version than the previous one. It's about half the length, which is pretty solid. But yeah, if chat doesn't have anything to say, just tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the next Star Rail video, which It really should be the Acheron one. It really should, bro. I waited too long for that. This is the second rerun. Yeah, let's play the game. Let's play the game.